Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's hot, by the way. Maria!
Hi,
Maria. How are you?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Put that in. No.
Uh-oh. Who wants to come visit?
It sure does.
Hi, my name's David Lewis.
David
I'm an
Lewis.
investigator with the district attorney's office in Bastrop.
You're a detective?
I'm an investigator.
Investigator?
Right, police officer.
Okay.
And Steve Spencer, since I'm over here in Giddings, Steve is with Giddings Police Department. But
Okay.
Steve, I worked with Steve back in the 90s and 2000s. He
Yeah.
worked over in Bastrop County for a long
Right.
time. And the reason I'm over here,
I get. Hang on.
I wonder if she would come down to the office. There's another lady in there.
yeah, well,
I may just step away if I take this. Because if she's uncomfortable talking with me here, it's on. So I'm holding them to sit in the truck. Oh, why you want me to be here?
Hi. Excuse me. Okay, come right in.
thank you.
Come right in here.
It's cold out there.
That's all right.
Let us come in.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, what I was telling you, the reason I'm over here today is
Yes, I know.
I think you contacted the county attorney here, Mr. Martin Plocky,
Yes, I did.
and had given him some information concerning the Stacey Stites
Right.
murder case over in
Yeah,
Bastrop
I know.
County.
Get me some water.
Okay.
Do you mind if I sit in one of these chairs, Miss Fountain?
No, go right ahead. excited, nervous.
That's all right. Completely understandable. You got your water?
Yes. Okay, and you're with
I'm with the Bastrop County Criminal District Attorney's
so
Office.
Did you have anything to do with the investigation?
I had some parts in it, yes, back originally, but I was not the lead investigator, the main investigators on the case.
Okay.
I hadn't been involved technically, especially with any new developments or anything like that, in a good number of years. The Attorney General's office and their investigators are handling all that. They were originally contacted by Mr. Polunsky earlier this week, but they're out of the Austin area in trials in Fort Worth and different places over the state, and weren't available to come down and interview you or talk to you to get a preliminary interview. They may want to come back and talk to you after I talk to you, based on what you tell me. Technically, I'm not really here to ask you hardly any questions at all, really. I want to hear what you have to say, if you have any knowledge whatsoever pertaining to the Stacey Stites murder, something that will generate some concern or whatever that needs to be looked into.
Yes.
I mean, if it needs to be looked into, we want to look into it.
He's fixing to get executed. We don't really have a lot of time to. We need to put a stop to, or at least a hold on it until I can give more information.
Well, that's why I'm here, is for you to give us some information so we can look into it, check it out,
Yes.
To find out if it has any credibility or if what you're telling me exists.
Yes.
So it can be presented to the courts or whomever.
Well, we can start with that morning.
And what morning was that?
The morning that Stacey was killed.
Okay, but before we really get into it, what is your full name? What do you go by?
I was Maria Fountain. Bryant. At the time of the murder, I was married to Officer Gary Joe Bryant.
Right.
And at the time of the murder, and he was killed in October of that same year that Stacey was murdered.
Right.
Okay.
I do remember that because I was over here assisting in the manhunt.
Yes.
For the shooter of your husband.
Right.
So I do remember that vividly.
Yes.
And your date of birth is? And your address here is, and we're at your residence, is 817 South Grimes Street, Giddings.
Yes.
And your phone number is 512-308-2978?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said earlier, I introduced myself as Investigator David Lewis with the District Attorney's Office.
I agree, married, so I go the name Maria Fountain.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And I also introduced you to Detective Steve Spencer with the Giddings Police Department, who's been so good to let me come in his town and we talk to you and provide me with some equipment to use today. Okay, now let's go ahead. Let's start on...
Okay, the morning that Stacey was killed.
Do you remember what day that was?
No.
Okay, you remember what month?
I forgot what month it was. April or...
Well, you're right. It was April of 1996.
Yeah. April, because it was a few months before my husband was killed.
Right.
So it was in April 96. My brother, oldest brother, Ernesto Deleon, was staying with my mother across the street.
Across the street from?
At my house.
Oh, your house here?
Yeah, right there's where my mom lives.
Okay, across the street from
At that time, my brother my oldest brother was staying there, and he was working dispatch at the Bastrop County Sheriff's. And
what was your brother's name again?
Ernesto Deleon.
Okay.
And he told me that morning he went early to go to work, and at Highway 21 and 290, you go up the ramp, you turn to go to Bastrop. He came upon a little red pickup truck in front of him, and he saw a man with a large head wearing a basketball cap, and there was struggling going on in the vehicle. He was struggling with somebody in the vehicle. And then when he went on, the vehicle went on. I don't know if he passed it or if they turned off. But he said that the truck on the back windshield had a sticker like of a Harley Davidson. And so then the next thing I know later on is my husband was investigating the murder, and on his own. I don't know whether anybody knew about it other than his best friend Nathan Lapham, who is now a chief deputy for the Sheriff's County, Lee County, and at the time he was a patrol officer. And after he was killed, Nathan told me, well, before he was killed, my husband told me that Jimmy killed Stacey.
Your husband told you that?
Yes, he said that Jimmy was the one who killed her, and he was doing an investigation. And
well, did he tell you how he knew that?
No.
Okay.
He just said that Jimmy done it. And then after he was killed, Nathan told me to get his briefcase back because it had all the papers that were from the investigation he was doing, and he thought that maybe they might have had him killed because of the investigation he was doing. And so I went and I asked for his briefcase, and Tommy Hudgens brought it down to me, and it didn't have maybe 2 or 3 pieces of paper in there. Everything was gone. No pens, no pencils, no nothing. Pads, tablets, everything was gone. There was nothing.
Did you look in the briefcase before you gave it to the police department at the time?
Yes. And there was nothing in it. And
but I mean, was there something in it? Did you give it to him?
No.
Was the briefcase here?
When he was killed, it was taken. It should have been taken into evidence.
Okay.
You would
it
think.
was like probably in his patrol car
Right,
or
when he was
at his
killed.
office desk or whatever.
It would have been in his patrol car. He carried that briefcase with him all the time. And so I asked for it back, and Tommy Hudgens brought it to me. And when I opened it, there was only 3 pieces of paper that didn't make was really nothing important. So one thing is, why would they give me the briefcase at all if it should have been under evidence?
Well,
everything else they kept as evidence.
I can't answer that question.
No, I'm just asking myself. This
Yeah.
is what I'm asking myself. Why would they do something like that if it's supposed to have been under evidence? And then at his funeral, Jimmy and Tommy, and I think even David Hall looked guilty when at the funeral. When they were standing, they kept their heads down the whole time. They wouldn't look up, and that was strange to me, that they would be acting like that. And I have the videotape where you can watch the funeral where they don't lift their heads up, and like something was not right, that to me. And
or the fact that they were just in mourning also.
But all the other officers were also in mourning, and some of them were even closer, and they didn't seem that way. They were not that way. I don't know. And that was just me. And I don't know if it means anything. Let's see, what else?
Did Joe at any time tell you anything that he was doing concerning an investigation of the Stacey Stites murder?
He mentioned it in innuendos, kind of like.
I mean, he never come up and said, "I've talked to so and so, and I've done this, and I've done that, and this is what I found out." And
no.
He never gave you any type of details.
No.
Of
no.
anything he was doing or conducting, or had discovered or had not discovered.
No, that Nathan would probably be the only one that probably knew, even, and maybe if he knew, but I believe he knew. He knew something, but. I didn't come forward. I just thought, well, I didn't want to get involved. My brother didn't want to get involved.
Was that the reason you waited 18 years? Is because you really didn't want to get involved?
I didn't want to put myself in a bad position with the police department,
Okay.
by coming forward and saying, okay, the police department did this and did that, and they covered it up, and make me put in between a wedge between me and the police department, and I owe them a lot, and I feel like I should back them up as the way they back me up, and I didn't want to get put in that middle in between
Let's get back.
Police department and the city. And
did you say that was your brother that worked for the sheriff's department as a dispatcher at the time that this murder occurred?
yes.
And he was going to work on the day of the murder and observed this vehicle at 21 and 290 with two people. Did he say anything about telling his supervisor to contacting the sheriff's office about a possible rolling disturbance or anything like that? Or did he report that to anyone at the sheriff's office in Bastrop?
He didn't. He sure didn't. Not that he told me, but he just said he saw them, and that would be at the same time that he would have been going to work that morning. He would leave around 4 o'clock to go to work. So he either saw them at 4 or just after 4 that morning.
Okay. So just basically what you're saying is your husband, Joe Bryant, had indicated to you that he was involved or conducting an investigation concerning the Stacey Stites murder, and that Nathan Lapham was helping. And through what he was doing as part of his course of his investigation, he believed, but without giving you any detail, that Jimmy Fennell.
Yes, and he was never a type person who would say something without actually knowing. And so, I mean, I left it up to him, whether he was gonna bring it out or not. And I just left it alone. Whatever he decided he wanted to do with that information would be up to him, not up to me. And then when he was killed, I was busy taking care and mourning and everything, that I just didn't put a whole lot of thought into what had happened in April.
Right. I'm sure that April, May, June, July, August, September, October, within 6 months, Stacey Stites, there had not been anyone charged at that time. Didn't know who had actually done what, and then the tragic loss of your husband. I can understand that.
Thank you.
You would be totally out of it.
Yeah.
It deeply concerned the whole law enforcement family in Central Texas when Joe was killed.
Yeah.
It really did. We don't like to lose our officers like that. Maria, are you on Are you on any type of medications or under any doctor's care for anything?
Yes, I'm under doctor's care for a lot of things, a lot of health problems. I do have. It was controlled, but after his death, it just got worse. It just got harder to
cope.
To cope, exactly. And I came forward because I heard on the news that there was an execution date being set up, and I just like, oh my God, they're going to kill him. They're actually going to kill him. I would have thought he would have just got maybe 20 years and he would have got out. And then to actually be killed and knowing this information, I felt really, I guess, humble. And I felt like I really need to come out with this. And the police department is not the same anymore. It's not the same people, so I don't feel like I'm going to be stepping on toes now than I did back then.
Right.
We have a whole new people and new chiefs and everything, so I don't feel like I'm going to step on any toes with them. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just not wanting to die with that guilt, knowing what I knew and what information I knew, and knowing that man is innocent. He did not kill Stacey. You know, he was having an affair with her. And
do you have any personal knowledge of that?
Joe insinuated that she was with that black guy. She was the one that was screwing around with the black guy. With the black guy. And Jimmy, apparently, he knew about it or found out, and maybe she told him, and he killed her. And my husband knew that he had killed her. Like I said, they just had this guilt at the funeral. Like, it wasn't mourning, to me, it just looked like a guilt, the way they just kept their heads down the whole time.
Were you aware that Rodney Reed is under indictment in Bastrop County for the rape of 4 other women that he did not know?
I knew he was in jail for a rape when they tested him for DNA. He was in jail for a rape. So they went ahead and tested him while he was in the jail, and that's how they were able to pinpoint that he had actually had his DNA in Stacey.
And he's got a 5th indictment for unauthorized use of a vehicle where a young lady actually fought him off when he attempted to sexually assault her on a country road in Bastrop County after Stacey Stites' death. And a lot of these women testified. I mean, they didn't know Rodney Reed, but his DNA has pretty much established probable cause that...
Yeah, I went to one of the court hearings of the DNA trial, and they convinced me, being there and listening to how they matched his DNA and how it can't be anybody else's. And I was convinced, yeah, I guess he did do it. I'm like, they got all the evidence, and then later I find out that evidence like that can last over, 36 hours in a female after intercourse, and it can be still show up. And I was like, well, and then with my brother's description of the person in the vehicle was a big head, that's only has to do with Jimmy. He has the big head.
Where's your brother now?
In Taylor.
Is he like working for a police agency
No,
or doing something else?
Yeah.
Do you know what his address is? If I need to try to get in touch with him.
I have his post office box.
Do you have a telephone number for him?
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes.
And his name was again?
Ernesto.
Ernesto
Ernesto Deleon.
Deleon. Okay.
And he lives in Taylor.
Do you know which sheriff he worked under when he worked over there?
Hernandez.
What was her name?
I believe it was Hernandez then. Yeah. Yeah, it was Hernandez. Can't think of what else.
Trying to think of the sheriff before Richard Hernandez. That was Fred Hoskins. I think Fred Hoskins was the sheriff at the time Stacey was murdered. And Richard Hernandez was elected like a year and a half later. How long did your brother work for the sheriff's office there?
Oh,
Number of years, wasn't it?
no. 4 or 5.
Well, he could have
he
still
was-
worked for both.
Well, he was also a volunteer, one of those people that goes to domestic calls to help victims.
Victim Services?
Yeah,
Victim
victim services.
services.
He was always going to he was working with the county with doing that. And then he was a dispatcher at the sheriff's department. And that's when he saw Stacey. He was he was working dispatching.
Do you do you use the internet or social media? Read web pages, anything like that?
I have it on my phone. I don't have internet on my house, but I did read Rodney
You
Reed.
read a lot of stuff concerning Rodney Reed and things people write.
I read about Pam. I did not know Pam had dated him. That's kind of strange for Pam or him to date Pam, because he didn't like black guys. Jimmy Fennell did not like black people, and Pam.
You talking about Pam Duncan?
Pam Duncan has 2 black kids, and so that didn't quite make sense.
Who is Pam Duncan?
She was a dispatcher at the time,
Jailer or dispatcher?
or jailer.
Where?
She may have been a dispatcher here at the police
Oh,
department.
Yeah.
she was an employee of, but
Yeah.
has no bearing on anything other than
Then what I said, no.
Jimmy Fennell supposedly dated her at one time.
To me, it was strange.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I read that and I was like, what? He was in a relationship with her? And so.
How do you know Jimmy didn't like black people?
My husband told me. He didn't like black people. Kind of strange. My first thought after reading that was he was probably using her to make himself look like he doesn't like black people. So if he has a girlfriend with black kids, it would make him look less of hating black people.
That's your personal assumption?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we need to know about, or?
I just, have y'all talked to Nathan yet?
Oh, no. I mean, I had to talk to you first because you talked to Martin, and I had no idea exactly what you're going to have to tell me. But at some point in time, yes, Nathan will be talked to.
Okay.
By either myself or investigators with the Attorney General's office.
Okay. I feel better that I got it out, told somebody, and I don't have to die with that information. Whether it helps or doesn't help, I'm just glad I put it out and said, okay, this is what I know. If it makes a difference.
And you know, what you're telling me is, it's basically, this is stuff that you heard.
Right. Secondhand information.
Yeah, secondhand information that somebody has said something, so therefore
there might be
that will cause us to have to go look and find out whether or not if it's just hearsay or if there's any truth to the matter. If there's truth, we want to know about it.
That's right.
If it's hearsay, I want to know if it's hearsay.
Right.
So there's only one side to this, and that's the right side.
Yeah.
And that's the direction we're going. And if something becomes of this information, so be it. If something doesn't, so be that too. But we will have looked into it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes. I appreciate your time.
All right. If you don't have anything else to tell me, I'll
Thank you for opening your home up to us.
conclude this interview.
Thank you for coming.
It's about 10 minutes till 3 o'clock.
You have a card if I
I
hear
think
anything
I've got
else.
a couple here.
I can call you if I remember anything else. Seems like I gave Martin more information than I've given you.
That's my office phone by where I'm marked right there.
Thank you very much.
And like I said, there's a possibility that investigators from the Attorney General's office, once this information is turned over to them, they listen to it. It may prompt them to want to ask you additional questions. If so, they've got your information, and they'll be back in town here in the next few days. Should they want to contact you, one of the investigators primarily may be a lady by the name of Melissa Wolf, Investigator Melissa Wolf with the Attorney General's office. She calls and she identifies herself, she may want to meet with you.
Okay.
She's a real nice lady.
And what's the name of his attorney? Rodney Reed's attorney?
I can't tell you what their names are right now. There's been a lot of attorneys involved over and up and down this thing, and my office.
Yeah, because I couldn't find any names on the websites and the information I got online. There was no attorneys.
Like I told you as we began, there is a recorder on, and our conversation has been recorded. And his attorneys will get a copy of this.
Okay.
You don't have, like I say, I don't know who they are. I don't know their names right off the top of my head. But the Attorney General's office is handling all the post-conviction court. My office is technically out of it.
Okay.
Basically, it's Bastrop County is the judicial authority, but the Attorney General's office is representing Bastrop County.
What about internal affairs? Would they get involved with the police officers that were working at the time?
I have, that won't be up to me.
Oh, I do have some more information. I forgot about this. After she was killed, it was a few days later that Jimmy Fennell, he got a house. He rented a house right here on South Polk Street, and I went over there, and they had a big pool table in there, and his cousin Mark was living with him. Now, Mark was not working. Jimmy was supporting him. And I thought that was kind of strange that... Let's see. Let me get this right. Yeah. This was after Joe was killed that I went to his house.
So this would be 6 or 7
Jimmy,
months after Stacey's murder.
That I went there.
Yes.
But after the killing, Jimmy had been supporting Mark, his cousin Mark. And I believe that Mark is the one that went and picked him up when he dumped the truck. Because why is it that Jimmy was supporting him for all these months and Mark didn't work? Only Jimmy. Jimmy was paying all the light bill, food, everything, and Mark wasn't. His cousin was bumming off of him. And
Well, do you know whether or not Mark was living with him and Stacey at the time?
No. Mark came in after Stacey was killed.
Okay, so you don't know that he was supporting Mark during his
No,
relationship?
but I know that Mark was not working.
Okay.
Mark was living off of him. So that might... All I know is his name Mark. He said it was his cousin Mark. And I believe he had a yellow older model car at the time. That's another thing that I knew about, that his cousin Mark. And I think I remember feeling, and I have very good feelings about these things, that there was more to Mark than they were saying. And it was like Mark ruled the house. And when I went there, Mark was the one that was the one like ruling the place, not Jimmy. Jimmy was more set back, let Mark do whatever he wanted or say whatever he wanted, and Jimmy never talked back to him, never tried to do anything else, and just let Mark run the place. That was kind of strange.
You were only over there at that one time?
Yeah. Because I was
But that's just a
thinking-
feeling you got. You don't...
Yeah, I picked up investigative tips from my husband, I guess.
Okay.
He could kind of read people, and I would kind of see that situation kind of interesting. It might be something to look into.
Okay. But, I mean, you don't have any personal information or anybody ever said anything that to you that...
Only what I witnessed
Okay.
when I went
But
to
you
their
didn't
house.
witness Mark
No.
that morning or
No.
coming and going, or you did not witness Mark and Jimmy Fennell together?
Might just find out where Mark was at the time.
Okay.
See where he was at. And where did he live before he came here? Because all of a sudden he just showed up out of nowhere, and he was here.
But you're not sure if Mark was actually here at the time Stacey Stites was murdered?
No, he was
Okay.
not.
All right.
But he could have easily came from wherever he lives and helped him, and then drove back.
Okay. Anything else you can think of?
No, not right now. That was all.
Let's go back to Joe's briefcase for one second.
Sure.
How long after Joe was killed did
About three
or
4 days.
That's you.
It was
asked
before
for
the funeral.
Okay, you asked for the. You wanted his.
Nathan
That
told
was
me
his
to get
personal
the briefcase.
Okay.
And he also told me there's a possibility that somebody in the police department had him killed. And this was before they had any information of who the guy was that killed him. But at the first moment, it's like Nathan was like, oh no, he was investigating this. Somebody could have had him killed. But then as the investigation...
And Nathan actually said that to you?
He just said that get the briefcase back as soon as you can, and there's a possibility that he might have gotten killed for investigating something that he was investigating. And so I told Damewood...
Well, he didn't actually say anything specific about someone in the police department.
No.
Okay.
He just said might be someone in the police department. Yeah, he said that in the police department he was investigating something and that he could have gotten killed. But like I said, that was before we had information about his death, you know. And once we found out this guy did it, there was no way that anybody could have got him to kill Joe. No. But at the first moment, that was Nathan's fear, not mine, that somebody had him killed because of the investigation he was doing.
And you're saying that investigation was an investigation concerning Stacey Stites' murder?
Yes.
Okay.
Jimmy. He was investigating Jimmy and Stacey and information that he knew from this side, I guess, of the county. And then the briefcase was given to me empty with only 2 or 3 pieces of papers in there that had nothing to do with anything. Why wasn't it not kept for evidence? Why didn't they give me at least his pens and pads and tablets or whatever? They actually took everything, and that just didn't make any sense. They didn't give me, let's see, well, they gave me his badge and his empty briefcase, which is this one here. What else was it? Oh. They gave me like his baton, I believe, his flashlight, maybe his gun belts or something. I can't remember exactly. But they kept other things to me, like, why would they keep those things for evidence and not the briefcase? And why was everything missing from the briefcase? And Nathan knows that he had all the paperwork on the investigation he was doing in that briefcase. Oh. Well, if I think of anything else, I'll give you a call. But,
Okay, I appreciate you talking to us, and like I said, some of the investigators from the AG's office may want to come back and re-interview you at some time, but they'll get in contact with you.
okay.
And appreciate you letting us in the house and
Sure.
and talking with us and giving us this information, and we'll pass it on and
Okay.
see if anything comes of it, okay?
All right.
All right, we're going to conclude this interview at this time.
Thank you, Miss Fountain.
Thank you, Steve.
Stay warm.
Yeah, it's going to get hot. Turn the AC on by Saturday.
Uh-oh.
Here. Put that on.
All right, I'll make sure it's working. Yeah, she was jotting my mind. I'm trying to recall a lot of stuff. It
I know.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. Okay, well, I'm going to tell the tape that it's January the 22nd, 2015. It's about 12:11 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And you're Ernest Becerra de Leon?
Ernesto, E-R-N-E-S-T.
Ernesto, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your sister is Maria Fountain?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Used to be Bryant.
Right. Used to be Bryant.
All right. Now, let me start out and ask, if we're going back to April 23rd in 1996, the day they found Stacey Stites.
Okay.
Okay. How were you employed then?
1996.
Yeah, what was your job then?
My God, I think, let's see. Let me try to think.
I'd have to think about mine too.
I think I was unemployed at the time.
Okay.
It was 1996.
All right. Were you living there near your sister?
I was living down towards Smithville.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I believe I was staying with my mom. I had just gone through a divorce, and of course, my uncle died, and Joe Bryant died, and an aunt. So, yes, it was. I didn't have time to absorb none of my divorce. I had to be there for all of them.
Yeah, you take
I believe that's the area of the time it happened. So.
Okay, and so where was your sister living then?
I think she was in Giddings.
In Giddings, and you think you were in Smithville?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, so like I said, I'm trying to jot it,
Yeah. All right. Did you ever work for the sheriff's office?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That would be. I think I started in late 98, 99. I was a victim service volunteer.
Oh, okay.
There at Bastrop. I also was the dispatcher for maybe 9-10 months.
During that same period?
Yes, sir. It was like 3 years of volunteering, and then I started with that. So I finished out of it.
Who was the sheriff?
The sheriff was Mr. Hernandez.
It was Hernandez. Okay, Fred had gone. Okay.
Yes, he's gone, and my deputy was God, I forgot his name too. The chief. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot his name. Ronnie something. Ronnie.
Oh, okay. I don't remember myself.
But I think he's not there either.
No, I don't think hardly anybody left from them.
No, yeah, they've been gone.
All right. Now, did you ever tell your sister about anything that you thought might connect with the Stites case?
Yes, I did, but I didn't know it was like what I saw, what I felt, that when I was driving through there, there was kind of, she told me that I told her something somewhere on 290 and 95, and I was thinking, I don't remember telling her 290, the area that I'm trying to recall, and it's something because I'm trying to have these flashes and thinking about it, that it was right there at 90. I was heading north on 95. It was late in the evening, but it was right there close to 95 in the corner of 21, East 21.
Right, yeah, I know where you're talking about.
There's like a gas station there. There was a Shell or Texaco. I don't remember, but there was building going on at the time somewhere around in that area.
Right.
But I believe that was the area. It wasn't 290 like in Elgin.
Okay.
And I think she told me, well, you told me in Elgin. I said, well, sis, I don't remember nothing about Elgin. But I do remember something about Bastrop.
Right. And what'd you see?
Well, when I was coming through there, of course, there's cars turning east and cars turning east and going downtown and coming up north or south of 95. And I remember glancing over to my right. There was a little red truck. I had a small truck too, and it was like red in color. I think it was red, maroon. And there was like a motorcycle, like the Harley decals they carry in the back, right in the center.
Yes.
And it was kind of tinted vehicle, and I saw two people, and the window was cracked like someone was taking a smoke break. And I saw just hair, and a person with a very large head, and it had a lot of hair. That's what I'm trying to remember. It was kind of brownish hair. I do recall the way like I said, there was a lot of traffic going in. Excuse me. My throat gets dry. It looked like a man and a female. Right. And the female, she didn't look like she was a tall girl. She might have been maybe, by the way she was sitting in the truck, it was smaller, more petite. Right. I don't know. And that's what I saw. And it looked like there was hands going up in the air like an argument. And I've seen enough of it. I rode enough hours with the deputy sheriff that those things catch my eyes real quick. And I was going like, wow, what? I even thought about calling it in, and I said, well, it
didn't look like they were actually hitting each other, or you would have called it in, I guess.
If I saw that he or that person was hitting, I would have called it. No, there's no doubt in my heart.
It was just some kind of excited argument or conversation.
Yes, like hands going up in the air, you know how like the argument starts.
Now, as far as you said, it was a small pickup?
Yeah.
Like a Ranger or something, or a
here you go.
Little Mazda? Okay.
Because I had a Mazda. And
all right.
That's what I'm basing it. I don't remember the make.
And the sticker or emblem or Harley thing, whatever it was, that was the back window or the...
Right in the center of the window.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, the back window.
People usually put them. All right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
now, about what time of day was this? Was it light or dark?
It was in the evening. I don't remember. I would say 9:30 maybe.
Okay, dark then, by then.
It was dark.
And where were you coming from and going to?
I was in Smithville, and I think I was headed to Taylor.
Okay. And how would you normally go to Taylor?
Well, I would turn right off of 71.
Right.
And I head north on 95.
Okay.
Turn left on 290.
So it would take you through there. That 21. It would take you through that 21 intersection, then.
Oh yes, okay. I had to stop there at 21. Yes, that's the 350 loop there in Bastrop, but I call it 21. So.
All right.
But
do you recall what you were going to do, or just?
I think I was going to visit my granddaughter. Not my granddaughter, but my she's my my goddaughter and her family.
Ah, okay.
I used to come up here and stay, and with them and visit. And like I said, I wasn't doing much of anything. So. Right.
So you had time to see him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. And hey, while I've got you, what's a good phone number for you?
That's this one.
Oh, okay, good deal.
It's the one you should have there.
All right. And is Virginia your mother?
Who's that?
Is Virginia related to you?
Oh, she's a friend of mine.
Okay.
I'm living here now. She rents me an apartment. We're friends.
Well, if she tells you, if she gives you a message for me, it was earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I don't know if it got through, but I left a message at the number for the beauty salon, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, she works, and she's out right now doing some customers at home, I believe, or something like that. And,
right.
But, she'll probably tell me.
Now, do you have any recollection of when this actually was that you saw it? I know, it's a hard question. But
no.
I didn't know if it was, sometimes people say, I remember it because this happened.
Right. No, like I said, it was just, I was off, and no one really paid attention.
Sure. Now,
I was just get up. Sometimes I felt kind of like closed in, and I was going through that divorce and all that problems.
You can only sit at the house so long.
Yeah, so I would take trips, and I love to drive, and I like to get out, and so I can't, sir. I really.
Now, were you kind of hooked into the news back then? Did you hear were you aware of the murder when it happened?
No, just till months later. When I heard my sister was telling me about it.
So it finally just had occasion to be telling you about it.
Yeah, we talked about it, and then it just rang a bell. I said, when did that happen? What girl? And she said, well, this and this and this, and she has her theories. And I said, well, I don't know, sis. I'm just giving you what little I know. I said, but I don't. Okay. I don't see how.
So you're not saying that it was the same day or even about the same time?
Let's see, if I talked to her. We don't visit often with my sister, but at that time, at the time, I think. Of course, she was going through whatever.
Sure.
With Joe's death.
Still getting over
that,
yeah.
What it was. I think it was. I don't even know. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. But
as far as when you saw these people in this red pickup, you're not saying that was the day that she was killed or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know, because I didn't know about that.
That's right. Okay.
Weeks later.
All right.
Or maybe even a month later. I didn't know. Like I said, I was mostly in Smithville,
right,
in and out, and I would go to San Marcos.
So as somebody said, the day you saw those people, that night you saw those people in the red pickup, was that the day or the night before she was found or whatever? You'd have to say what? I don't know, or...
I don't know,
okay,
sir. I can't.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't expect you to write the day down, just when you see one thing.
I thought about it, but I can't give you an. And I'm used to, like I said, I've had a lot of experience with the deputy sheriff. They taught me so much when I did victim services that I carry a notebook and pen and a recorder in my truck. Even right now, if I see something suspicious, I go to a gas station or there's one employee working and I see certain characters.
Right, write a number down, once you're aware that it's important, you do those things.
Yes, I do. And I apologize. I don't, at that time, I was just, my mind was like, really...
well, it doesn't sound like it was a big deal if you didn't think anybody was actually getting assaulted.
No, I've seen people argue in stores and even in church they argue.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't make a really, really good note of it, but all I can remember is what I told my sister about weeks later. I know it's weeks later that we talked about it. Did you mention it
to her? Okay.
Yeah. And we never even talked about it again. I just didn't know.
Right. Now,
even more the case. I really didn't follow the case too much.
Right. Now, did you speak much with Gary Joe Bryant?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were close. Yeah, Gary's good.
Okay.
Good Gary. Very good gentleman.
Now, I'll just tell you what your sister's saying.
Uh-huh.
And I understand she got some problems.
Yeah, she does.
And she's kind of been reading a lot and kind of getting caught up in a lot of this. But she, if you were close to Gary, maybe you know about this. She's saying, Gary told her that he himself was investigating that murder on his own.
Oh no, Gary would. He was a good cop. He wouldn't share information like that with me. No, he wouldn't have told me nothing like that. That he was investigating.
Even if he was, he wouldn't have told you.
No, I don't think so, because he knew that I'm very like if you tell me something confident, I ain't getting out, But
right.
No, I never.
But he didn't tell you, and so you can't say whether he told Maria anything or not, really.
No, that comes from Maria telling me that's what
that he was doing
told her. Yeah, but as for my part, no, sir, he never brought his work home. I'm gonna be.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yes, he would. Once he left,
you have to be able to talk about it when it happens with your wife, but you don't bring it all home and drop it on her.
No. Now, if he talked to my sister about it, there again, I couldn't tell you yes or no, because I never heard him. His weekends, his days off were his days off, and he barbecued and did family stuff,
Right.
But he and I really never talked really law enforcement, no.
Okay.
I didn't get involved in law enforcement until after, he died, and I was going to...
Oh, yeah, it was after that you got working with the sheriff's office.
Yes, and I think I started in either late 98, 99, 2000, I think. And I had a lot of pressure from my family, my mom, my sister, everybody was telling me, you're going to get killed too if you stay there, and I really liked it. I like working with people and victims.
Well, that's a great thing to do. I've had a program like that, a place where I was. It was one of the best things we ever did, was set that victim services up.
I think it's one of the best programs. Excuse me, I got this bad cough. Yes, sir.
Well, let me make sure I've got this right, and I'm saying it correctly. That what you're telling me is that this thing your sister's talking about, while you were out of work and getting over divorce, and you were traveling up toward Williamson County to see some of the folks. And at maybe 9:30 at night, but it was definitely night, not the morning.
It was night.
And maybe 9:30 it was dark anyway. What you think maybe is 95 and 21 pulled up beside a small red pickup, miniature pickup. Had what could have been a Harley Davidson sticker in the middle of the back window, and there was a male. Could you tell he's white male or anything?
Well, the hair was kind of like I said, looked kind of brown reddish looking.
Okay, so probably a white male, brown reddish hair, large head, and a girl who was probably at least not very tall.
No, she wasn't.
And
I could see the shape of her hair. I could just see like she probably had long hair that I know of. It's just a shadow.
Right.
Hers was.
Yeah, she's away. It was on your right, I guess. So.
Yes, they were on my right side.
Yeah. So, and that they're having something going on where they're doing a lot of arm movement, a lot of arm waving.
A lot of arm waving. That's exactly.
All right. But not hitting.
No,
I
don't. No, if I saw that, I would call it.
All right.
Definitely.
And that as far as when that happened, outside of it being while you were off, out of work and getting over this stuff, it's hard to really say what the date was.
Yes, it's very, very hard because I would remember something of it, but like I said, it was a situation that I just kind of...
But it was definitely before you started working with the sheriff's office.
Oh, yeah. And, and like I said, we didn't share much with Joe, so I didn't have a lot of... But I've had incidents I'm not afraid to pick up the phone where people getting hurt. My oldest son almost got kidnapped.
Right.
And ever since that, he was in the 4th grade. And, but I taught him well what to do and what to say, and that's the reason he got away. And,
tell me what you think. I know your sister had a lot of problems. We had one of the local investigators there went by and talked to her. From what she told him, she's had lots of problems that go back a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Before Gary got killed. And that made it worse.
Yeah.
She told us about being problems and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Ever since, I guess, after high school or something, I don't know. She went to live with my dad, and she's never really told me anything because my dad was getting pretty old. And
right.
I mean, she went on her own to live somewhere, but I don't know if she was traumatized or what. She's never really told me anything, but I've noticed that for years she was acting very different,
Right. Whether she got sick or just something happened.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. I know she had it then, I don't know. And, she's had a lot of difficulties with mom and daughter relations. She's very demanding, very... Oh, yeah. That's not too unusual.
Yeah, she's very,
Well, what do you think? Because I'll tell you what she told the investigator, too. She told him that you were working as a dispatcher and living there near her, and that you told her that at 4 in the morning on the way to work at the sheriff's office, you saw this red pickup.
Oh, no. It couldn't have
and that it was on the morning that Stacey Stites was killed.
Oh, no.
What do you think's going on there? How is she making all this? How is this coming together in her head?
She takes a lot of medications, I'll be honest, and she could have told you that at the time.
Okay.
She takes a lot of meds.
So she might actually believe it at this point.
Yes, that's true. And I try to talk to her, and I said, well, sis, we talked about it, but that's what I said. She said I was at 290, and I said, no.
Well.
And I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember saying nothing about 4. I just know it was a late evening.
But at least you're sure about the stuff we've talked about. You can't say what day it was, but
No,
you're right about that it was the evening, maybe 9:30 and dark, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I don't think I talked to her about when that evening. I actually didn't know till later, until in '98 when I went to work for the sheriff's department. I learned more.
That's when you started learning details about that, huh?
Yes, and then that's when we had talks. And yeah, I heard about that. I was working.
Okay, so you now working at the sheriff's office would make those kind of crime story topics come up when you talk to your sister.
Oh yeah. It comes up, and I work with some great people, supervisors there, and some detectives are open to talk.
It's interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always like law enforcement stuff, anyway.
Right.
But it just interests me. But things like that, I don't like people getting hurt, so. We happen to be talking about it. And I said, I recall one night, but, I don't remember telling her 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, I don't remember talking about 2 nights.
Well, you wouldn't have been driving up to Williamson County at 4 in the morning.
No, I don't think
so.
No.
To wake him up.
No, I'm not going to wake up my goddaughter. Yeah, she would have been glad to see me, but no, I wouldn't do that.
Well, I appreciate you calling me back.
Yes, sir.
Even though you were sick.
We're
not going to give your sister any grief over this, I think, because it's just, I think she's just thought about things a little too much.
Yeah, she was trying to tell me, your statement, it'll help him from dying. I said, well, wait, sis, I just heard that, he's on death row, but I didn't know his time was up. 'Cause I don't watch TV. I just don't have a TV in my apartment. I don't like to watch TV. So I say I'll listen to the radio and that's it. But whatever people tell me, I say, because my stress level, I have to be careful.
Hey, I think you almost think you're doing the right thing. I kind of every time I watch the news, I regret it too.
I know. So I just, and like I talked to her, I said, sis, I don't know, you're dropping. She didn't even tell me what she was going to do. And I said, when she called me, she goes, yeah, I remember when she went straight into it, but I already know her condition.
That's all right. She's doing what she thinks right.
Yeah, and I said, I don't want to see anybody die either. I said, but, I said, let me think about it and talk to me, because you're telling me all this stuff that I told you. I said, and I can't, like I said, I recall only bits and pieces now, I think
as long as you're sure about the parts you're sure about.
I'm sure that, I don't remember the date, and, but I just can give you vehicle color description what I gave you.
Well, I sure appreciate it. That kind of squares that up, so we don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it helped you or not. But,
well, not really. You saw some people having an excited discussion in Red Pickup.
Yeah.
At night, not at 4 in the morning. So.
No, I don't remember. No. I wouldn't have been doing that.
All right.
I don't remember where 4 came from. Maybe I don't know. I can't recall.
Thanks a lot. For the tape, I'm going to say it's 12:34 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.